Before I even kick this off, I want to do something. I want to make sure that I recognize the people that make all of this happen. I'm here to give the State of the City for 2023. There's been a lot that's been accomplished this past year that we're very proud of, but it couldn't happen without the folks that I'm going to introduce right now. And as I introduce you, please stand up. Again, I think that this past week has been one of those rougher weeks where we get emails from folks and we get complaints, and I'm going to tell you right now, the people I'm about to introduce, they're volunteers. Oh my goodness, they put in a lot of time, and they get paid pretty much nothing for the service that they provide for us. So with that, I want to kick it off by recognizing our mayor, Brenda Gunter. Mayor, if you'll stand up. Single member District 1, City Council member Tommy Hebert. Single member District 2, Tom Thompson. Harry Thomas couldn't be with us today. He's traveling out of town, but he did join us by Zoom today for our City Council meeting. Give him an applause, please, so that he knows that he is recognized. Single member District 4 is Lucy Gonzalez. District 6, Karen Hesse Smith. And District, actually that's a 6, it should be 5. And District 6 is Larry Miller. Sorry about that. I also have staff here, and I'd like to make sure that I recognize them as well. Our assistant city manager, we have, is Rick Wise here? Rick? Assistant city manager, Michael Dane. And actually, I'll introduce her here in just a little bit as well. I have some things to say about her as well. Teresa James is our city attorney. You'll stand up, Teresa. Tina Dirsky handles our finances. Ryan, I know that you're here as well with Tina, so you'll stand and be recognized as well. My other staff, I'm sorry if I'm missing anybody. Would you please stand if you're a city staff member? Okay, with that, I want to go ahead and kick off. I have a lot to cover today, so I do want to kick this off with a quick video. It's about a minute and a half long, so if you'll take a look at it. There's a lot of things that I mentioned a while ago that have happened in 2023. One of the things that we kicked off this past year that we had been doing, but not at the level that we should have been doing, was addressing our ADA. So we know that we do have a transition plan, but we're making an update to that transition plan. We made great progress in making the city more accessible for our citizens. Teresa James, as I mentioned a while ago, she's not just our city attorney, she's also our ADA coordinator. She's done an incredible job this past year, really, to get the programs in place that we needed to have in place. We've done a lot of training. We've done training with the city manager's office, down to the assistant directors, managers, frontline personnel. Everyone has had the training to make sure that we are really aware of how we should be properly serving our community when it comes to our disabled citizens. And that's something that I'll tell you right now that sometimes you lose track of the importance of that. Not so much that it's not important, it is important. But one thing that I've done as far as practicing and determining if in fact we're doing everything we should be doing, I took a walk around City Hall to just kind of figure out if in fact I was mindful of those things that, for instance, we have people in wheelchairs. When they come to City Hall, can they come in? Do they have a way to access City Hall? Do we put our signs, place them up a little bit too high to where they can't really see them? There's a lot of things that we've taken a look at to say, hey, are we doing this the right way, or are we missing the boat on this? I believe that in many areas we were missing the boat, and quite frankly, many cities are. But I'm going to tell you right now that we have a very strong commitment to the ADA community, to the community, to make sure that we're doing everything that we should be doing. Here in the very, very near future, we're going to be having town hall meetings to get input from the community as far as what are some of the needs that we have to address ADA. Also, we do have on our website, we would like to get your thoughts and opinions as well. You can go to our website at cosatx.us/ADA, and you can find information there about what it is that we're doing, and also to get your input. We've created an ADA advisory committee with citizens, and I think that's going to be a wonderful addition for getting input from our citizens to let us know what it is that maybe we're falling short on. But again, we're very dedicated to making sure that we do everything on our end to address ADA. I do also want to mention, because we have Ryan Groves, who's the communications director, and Deputy Director Lorelei Day as well. They did a wonderful job, not just putting together the presentation that I have today, but also they put together the website that really, when you go to it, you'll notice that there's a way to link to the disabled community, the ADA. And so again, if you get an opportunity to go visit our website, there's a lot of great information in there. As a matter of fact, a lot of what I'm reporting today, you'll find in there as well. Moving on to streets, we get a lot of calls. I know that there's a lot going on in College Hills Boulevard. A lot of questions as to when are you guys going to be finished. A lot of times they get complaints because we're not doing the work, and now when we start, we get complaints on that. So I'm going to be talking and giving kind of an update on what's going on with streets. If you'll recall, we've been presenting information now for years that we've been coming up here. And by the way, I do want to mention that the mayor and I normally do the presentation together. We kind of tag team. We decided this year that I'd be the one presenting, and the mayor would be presenting next year, actually. So I'm looking forward to that presentation next year. But going back to streets, streets is something that City Council has prioritized for years now. When you start looking at infrastructure, we want to make sure that we have what citizens need in order for them to travel safely. We often say that we want to recruit new business to San Angelo, and it's difficult to do that when we bring businesses in here and they drive around and they see streets that are not in good shape. We want to make sure that we're investing in our community. If we're asking others to invest in us, we've got to make sure that we're investing in our community and doing the right things to ensure that things are being accomplished. Now, in the streets program, we have two different programs. We have the SEAL program. The SEAL Code program, excuse me, is a program that we put together several years back in 2016. We implemented seal coding all the city streets over an 8-year period was the commitment that we had. And the challenge was very real. Excuse me. When I showed up in San Angelo, for instance, the budget for the streets program was about $680,000. I can tell you right now, the City Council has been very committed to ensuring that we have the monies necessary to get the streets done. Right now, we dedicate about $4 million pay-as-you-go to address the Seal Code program. And then we dedicate another about $8 million per year to address the reconstruction, mill, and overlay of our streets as well. So we're committing about $12 million per year. Now, mind you, I want to make sure that I point out that we've done that without, even before the state legislators passed the new bill and new law that we can't go beyond 3.5% on our property taxes as far as revenues per year. Even before that, we were not increasing the property tax rate. We kept it steady. So we did a lot to address our infrastructure without increasing the property tax rate. And that's something that we were quite proud of, and we're very proud of right now. And we still continue with that same program. As a matter of fact, the SEALCO program, we completed the 8th year this past year of getting all the city streets done. So what do we do now? We start all over again. And seal coating really is the process of just sealing up the streets to ensure that water doesn't seep through them and destroy the base, and you start getting potholes and everything else. So you start seeing the trucks going around, and they put that emulsion on our streets, and with the chip seal of rocks on top of that, that's our seal coat program. And it's been very successful, and that's something that, as I mentioned a while ago, we're starting all over again. So we finished year 8, and we're moving now to year 1 again and starting that process again. With that said, I want to talk about some of the streets that we've worked on or that we're working on currently that it's pretty good for y'all to know about, because it may affect you. You may live close to these areas, but keep in mind that we're doing this to make sure that we improve those roadways to make it safer for you as you travel. College Hills, and I mentioned that a while ago, College Hills. The reconstruction of College Hills Boulevard started in May of 2022. It was number 3 prioritized under one of our studies. And we're spending about $33 million on that roadway. 11 million of that, 11.4 million of that is the streets. A lot of times people think that all you're doing is repairing the street. No, we're not. We always make sure that we replace the infrastructure under those streets to make sure there's any water, the waste, drainage pipes, anything that needs to be worked on. We want to always make sure that we address that. We never want to put in a brand new street and then come back and rip them up because the water line busted. So we make sure that we do that coordinated effort between the water department and operations department, that when we do a project, we're doing it all together. So we're replacing all the infrastructure as we move along. The current status is that all the underground utilities, the curbing driveways will be completed. On the north section, north of Oxford, the initial paving course has been completed, and the top layer of the asphalt has been laid. We expect the project, when we initiated the project, we're looking at a 30-month long project. I can tell you right now that several months have gone by, and we're about 12 months away from completing College Hills Boulevard. So for those of you that are calling City Hall and wondering about that, it is 12 months from now. We're very hopeful that it'll be completed by then. And if you can help us out, if anybody asks, just tell them, hey, they're a year away. But once it's completed, it's going to be a beautiful roadway. So we're looking forward to that. We're also addressing drainage along that roadway. As y'all all know, when it rained, it used to flood pretty bad in that area. We're hoping to really reduce that, and that should help a lot of people, a lot of folks that want to travel through there. The next one that I want to talk about is Howard Street. We'll seek reconstruction and mill and overlay along the entire length from Glenna to Sherwood Way. This includes roadways, water, sewers, sidewalks, and the total construction cost is about $10.9 million. Again, that includes the streets and all the infrastructure underneath there. The construction actually began here back in August of 2023, and it's expected to complete in winter of 2024. North Chadburn. We're doing a full depth reclamation. It will be performing, actually what we're doing is from 7th Street to 43rd Street, which includes again the roadways and everything underneath. The cost of the construction is estimated to be about $5 million. The roadway project was bid in September of 2023, and construction is expected to begin after the first of the year. Jackson Street will be reconstructed from Knickerbocker Road to the railroad tracks. Again, everything on that will be done, streets and everything underneath that. Construction will begin the first of this year, and we expect it to take about 9 months. And Sunset Drive. Roadway will be milled and overlaid along its entire length from Loop 306, that's nearby Academy and Shannon, all the way to Foster Road. The design will begin as far as the work in January 2023, and we expect that it's going to take about 12 months to complete the project. We do look at everything when we're working on projects, and I want to make sure that I mention this, that we look at local monies, the monies that come in revenues, but we also look for grants that may be available. We've applied for several grants to assist with some of the projects that we have going on. Some of them are still pending. But mind you, we're always looking for opportunities to reduce the cost to the city and to the taxpayers by ensuring that we do everything we can to secure some of those grants. Moving on, the other part of waste, I mean, as far as the infrastructure the City Council has addressed has been the water and wastewater. There's a lot of work that's been done. A lot of these projects, you'll be sitting here thinking, I heard about this project last year. With some of these projects, I tell you what, they're going to take 3, 4, 5, 6 years before they're completed. They're major projects, so you'll probably be hearing about some of them next year when the mayor is presenting as well. But I do want to talk about a few of the projects. The goal that we have set for ourselves is to ensure that we diversify our water supply. We want to make sure that we're not dependent just on surface water as we've been for the longest time. Surface water, as you know, when it gets pretty hot, you know, the lakes and the rivers, they start to evaporate, and we start losing some of that water. Before I showed up here in San Angelo back in October of 2012, I was getting phone calls, actually emails from citizens of San Angelo. I was in Eagle Pass, and they're asking, what are you going to do about the water situation here? And I can tell you right now, I did a lot of praying, and that must have really helped because it rained quite a bit before I actually showed up here. And when I showed up, we had a good water supply. But we can't be dependent on prayer, even though, yes, continue praying no matter what. I really believe in prayer, but we also have to plan for all of that. So let me tell you what we're doing as far as the planning phase of it. So we know that we have the surface water. We have the Contra River Water Supply Project. You've heard probably about it for the last few years, but I want to kind of give you an update on where we are with that. So we've applied to the TCEQ, which is the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, a couple of permits we've applied for to ensure that we could treat water from our wastewater treatment plant and then put the water back into the Contra River. We're going to flow that water, and mind you, some of you are probably thinking, wastewater, you're going to put it back into the river. I can tell you right now, we're going to clean it to a standard that's probably be cleaner than what's in the Contra River right now. But we are going to put it in the river. It's going to run about 8 miles. We're going to retrieve it from the river, and then we're going to treat it to drinking standards. We know that that project alone will bring about 7.5 million gallons additional per day that we'd have available to us. And it's a project, as mentioned a while ago, that the permits have been submitted. One of the permits, the discharge, we call a discharge permit, that's to place the water into the river. We've already been approved for that discharge permit. What we're waiting for now is the bed and banks permit, and that's to retrieve the water and send it to our water treatment facility. That's the one that we're waiting for. We suspect that that'll take probably about another 6 months before we finally get word and we know whether we are going to have that approved or not. But once it is approved, we're looking about 4 years down the way before we actually move forward to implementation. There's a lot in this project. It's just not a matter of placing the water in the river. We also have to do some work to upgrade our treatment facilities. One of our treatment facilities that we have, of course, is over 100 years old. Some of the working mechanical parts are over 100 years old. So we want to make sure that we have the ability to start replacing some of that equipment as far as the project as it moves along. The estimated cost for this project is about $120 million. Now, if you're not paying attention to what's been going on, most cities see a pretty big spike in their inflation. The city of San Angelo is no exception. We don't go by the consumer price index. When we start looking at inflationary rates for cities, we look at what's called the municipal cost index. And normally cities operate at a higher inflationary rate than the average citizens do because we buy certain products that are more expensive. Chemicals, you start looking at bleach to treat our water. Those chemicals have quadrupled, even 5 times the expense that we've had in the past. Petroleum products that are used for our streets, everything has gone through the roof, and that's why when you look at the consumer price index versus what we go by is the municipal cost index, you notice that we're not at 3.5. We're normally at 4.3 to 4.8, even in the 5s and 6. And I can tell you that over the past couple of years, it's been much higher than that. So we do have those challenges in addressing, and I say that because the projected cost of the project is about $120 million. But we may see an increase to approximately about 30% of that cost just because of how inflation's been going up as well. So it's imperative on us to get these projects going and get them on the way and get them completed before we get caught up in even more inflation. The Hickory Aquifer well field expansion, We do have the expansion of the Hickory groundwater system is underway. The expansion will involve the drilling of 5 additional wells, which are almost completed. So that takes the 15 wells, and this is the water that we get from the Hickory aquifer. Right now we have 15 wells. We want to increase that to 20 wells. Once we do that, then we'll be able to accomplish the number of gallons per day that we'll be able to retrieve from the aquifer is about 12 million gallons per day. You may ask, well, what does that mean? What does 12 million gallons per day mean to us? The city typically uses or consumes about 14 to 18 million gallons per day. Now, during the winter months, that consumption goes way down. So we're looking at about 10, maybe 11 million gallons per day. We have focused on the future for our community, and we want to make sure that we're not just addressing our current needs at this point. We want to make sure that we address our citizens, our kids, our grandkids. And the goal that the City Council that we've set for ourselves is to secure water, not just for the next 10 years, but 50 years, 75 years down the way. And that is what we're pushing really hard for. So when we say that we want to diversify, we want to diversify for a reason, is to increase also the capacity and how much more water we can bring into our citizens. I know that technology will change, and who knows, maybe 25 or 30 or 50 years from now, we'll be able to treat salt water to a drinking standard, which would be much less expensive than, right now it's pretty expensive to do that, but we're hoping that technology becomes so good that in the future we have other options as well. But for now, we have what we have, and we're working on it at this point. So again, that goal is about 75 years down the way. The West Texas Water Partnership, we continue working on that. This is a partnership that the City of San Angelo has with Midland and Abilene. And we are partnered up to secure water, and we have secured the water from Fort Stockton Holdings in the Fort Stockton area. And what we want to do is bring that water here to San Angelo, Abilene, and Midland to secure that water supply. For the City of San Angelo, it's about 5,000 acre-feet of water that we can secure, again, with the goal of expanding and knowing that we can have a 50 to 75-year water supply. We're working through all the details on the West Texas Water Partnership as far as who's going to be responsible for what, as far as the infrastructure that will run likely to Midland. And then work its way to San Angelo. So we'll have a lot more information on that here in the very near future, but know that we're still working on that supply, and it's something that is imperative. It's so important to our community that we have to continuously work on it and ensure that we can really secure and have the water here. I do want to move on though. So I've talked about the water supply, and again, the commitment from the city to get us to about a 75-year down the way. And right now, the other project that is so key and important to us relates to our wastewater. Our wastewater right now at Lake Nasworthy, we've had parties interested in opening up businesses near the lake area, but we've been so restricted and limited because we don't have the capacity for our sewer system out there. Right now, we're at full capacity, so nobody else can go out there and start a business. And that's a big problem for us because we do work on a master plan for the lake. We've worked on the master plan for the airport as well. But when you don't have the capacity for infrastructure, then no one's going to come and build because they can't. So one of the things that we wanted to do is focus in on the Lake Nasworthy sewer project. In November of 2019, the voters did approve to use the Lake Nasworthy Trust Fund to be spent on upgrading quality of life projects, which was about $6 million for that. And then upgrading the sewer infrastructure of the Lake Nasworthy area to provide, as I mentioned a while ago, for development in that area of town, expansion of the airport, and eliminate the single uncased pipeline that currently crosses the lake, which could be a dangerous situation. You don't want something that can burst as far as a pipeline that's going through the middle of our lake that is transporting sewer water. So we want to make sure that we replace that line with what turns out to be 2 lines where are redundant lines that are cased, but also expands the capacity of what we can do out there at the lake area. And it expands it by 5 times, so those entities, those businesses that want to come to San Angelo, now they have the ability to do that. The project itself, we know that we're at about a 40% completion at this point. The project timeline is we feel that we can have it completed by May of 2025, and that's our goal at this point. Again, we've had entities, businesses that are interested in going to the lake area. They just don't have the ability at this point. Even development, any other type of development, is very limited based on the fact that we just don't have capacity out there. Speaking of the airport and what we are wanting to accomplish out there, I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing with the Border Patrol facility out there. We're finishing improvements in what we call the MU2 hangar for Customs and Border Patrol to be able to expand their operations in San Angelo. Some of the improvements include a new fire suppression system, including a new 2-hour rated firewall in the hangar bay, upgrade to LED lights, roof repairs, and new skylight, new HVAC systems. And other general items. The CBP has done a lot of improvements that they've paid for themselves. The funding for the project was done using airport fund balance, about $1.5 million. Another project that's being worked on right now is the Runway 927 project. The Runway 927 conversion to taxiway H is a huge project for us. It's been briefly put on hold, but we're working on this project. In February of 2023, the runway conversion was placed up for bid. With no bidders, we re-advertised the project using concrete instead of asphalt to try to entice more bidders. We received one bid that was not a responsible bid, so the City Council chose to not accept the high bid price and challenged the airport engineers to work with the FAA to try and get more contractor-friendly bids advertised for the fall of 2024. The FAA recognizes the significance of this project and has verbally committed fiscal year 2024 discretionary funding to get the job done. The South Taxi Lane project, within the month, we will be rebidding the South Taxi Lane project. Again, some of the costs, as I mentioned a while ago, have gone through the roof for the city. And one of the problems is when we bid out a project, we have an anticipated cost for that project. Well, the bids aren't coming in close to those costs, so they're coming in much higher. And sometimes we think that some of those bids that have been submitted are very unjustified. So we don't want to pursue completing projects or starting projects with funds that we quite frankly don't have, or putting more money into a project than what we actually should. So we are excited for this project. It will open up access to the south portion of the airport for future development as identified in the airport master plan. Under this project, the City of San Angelo will be providing a 1,000-foot-long taxiway, giving opportunity for owner-built hangars along the taxi lane. Phase 1 will provide 4 hangar pads for 8,100 square foot hangars. Then we'll have space for 4 10,000 square foot hangars and 12 3,600 square foot hangars. Phase 2 will allow for additional hangars to be built of various sizes. Phase 1 is anticipated to be completed by May of 2024. The project will be funded through federal grants, the Airport Improvement Grant, and the Passenger Facility Charge Program, which passengers pay when they board the airplanes. Y'all already heard about the ASU project, but I will just give a quick summary on that. Angelo State University has acquired about a 40-year lease on a 3-acre parcel directly north of the newly leased Skyline hangar. This parcel will be a new home of the San Angelo University Flight Training program. The west portion of the lot will host a new approximately 15,000 square feet classroom-style building with offices, flight simulator rooms, and a dispatch center. The east portion of the lot will house a future hangar with direct access to the north ramp. The ASU flight program has seen significant growth since the conception of the program and will have doubled their 5-year projection by the end of this year. They have nearly 120 students enrolled in the program. They have access to 16 aircraft and will be securing another 6, probably by the end of this year. They also have partnered with Southwest Airlines to provide a direct pipeline for employment following their flight training. One of the major issues, of course, that you've heard of is the shortage in pilots, and it's really a big problem that we faced this couple of years back, actually. You start looking at recruiting new flights at our airport. One of the ones that we had recruited successfully was a flight to Houston. Right now, if we plan to move forward with additional flights, the issues with the pilots, the shortage has to be addressed. I'm very pleased that we have here locally a program through ASU that addresses that shortage as well. So hopefully we'll end up with some of those pilots here in San Angelo. I want to move along as well. Now that we're talking about the airport, I want to talk about Lake Nasworthy improvements. The Lake Nasworthy is key to us. It's one of the major assets that we have in our community, along with our rivers. Without the lake, we have fewer people that would come and visit. We have a lot of folks that come in, especially during the summer, to enjoy water programs, activities out there at the lake. And we want to do everything that we can to really improve upon our lake and making sure that we're taking care of what we should be taking care of. Of course, anytime you have visitors to our community, they're spending money here locally, and we have a boost in our sales tax revenues, so that's huge for us. So again, Lake Nasworthy improvements, I do want to talk about. I don't know if y'all have been out there yet to the lake, out there by Mary Ely Park. The new Lake Nasworthy Pier has been completed. It's a beautiful pier. If you like to fish, if you like that type of activity, go out there. We built a really nice parking lot out there as well. The Lake Nasworthy boat ramp improvements. People want to go out there and put their boats on the water. Some of the ramps that we've had out there haven't had any work done to them in quite a while. So this is a part of the Nasworthy improvement referendum approved by the voters back in 2019. Projects were prioritized by Lake Nasworthy HOA board. It includes ramp improvements, docks, ADA access, parking improvements, and miscellaneous amenities for the Beatty ramp, the Knickerbocker ramp, and also the South Concho Drive ramp. So all of those will see improvements. Design is complete with construction expected to begin in winter of 2023. So we're right there already. So you'll start seeing improvements just hopefully in time for the summer months when people start boating again. Another area of priority is the Nasworthy vegetation removal program. Vegetation will be removed to reestablish original bank lines. We've had a lot of vegetation that's taking over, so we want to start looking at ensuring that we can remove that, especially various islands around the lake. The city is working with an engineering firm to determine permitting and the most cost-effective and efficient way to perform the removal. Parks and Recreation, another area that has seen quite a bit of work. New playground equipment. We replaced the decades-old playground equipment at Brown Park with all new equipment, thanks to a $50,000 half-cent sales tax funds and city staff labor. Again, this saved us a lot of money. Typically, you don't just purchasing the equipment, but also a group that comes in and replaces the equipment. We actually have the talent on our staff that they came out and did the job themselves and did a wonderful job out there. We received funds in the amount of $188,000 through the Alcohol and Drug Awareness Center for the Concho Valley. Funds that came from that organization came from Texas Health and Human Services for the replacement of two playgrounds, one at Bell Park and the other one at Mountain View Park. The Bell Park playground is to be completed in March of 2024, and the Mountain Park playground in October of 2024. One of the big things that we hear all the time when we do our CIP planning, our capital improvement plan, is the citizens show up and they always rank the projects that they feel we should be working on. One of the ones that we always hear about is the splash pad funding. People want splash pads in our community. And the City Council did adopt a resolution supporting private funding efforts by All-Tex Irrigation. All-Tex Irrigation, thankfully, is a group that really is putting the best foot forward and say, hey, we want to partner up with the city, and we want to make these splash pads happen. The full project includes construction of two splash pads, not just one, but two of them. One at Unidad Park, that one's going to cost about $385,000, and the other one's at Kirby Park, that one's going to be about $465,000. The first objective is to raise enough funds for the Unidad Park splash pad. As of September 13, there's about $133,800 that's been raised, and a big fundraiser drive is set for October 14th. In conjunction with ASCO Equipment's car show event, all donations will be matched by ASCO Foundation with a $10,000 donor limit and a $100,000 overall limit. If $100,000 is raised, the splash pads project will receive $200,000, so there's a matching component to that. This would put the fundraising in range to begin the first splash pad and possibly have it ready for the summer of 2024. The 29th Street Sports Complex, and I'm looking at Tom Thompson because this is a project that he's been wanting to get done for quite a while now. The City Council authorized the hiring of a contractor to begin renovations of the what used to be the old girls fast pitch softball complex, now being called the Youth Sports Practice Area. I know Tom wanted it to be called never mind, so that's at 29th Street and along the North Concho River. That's opposite of Kirby Community Park. If you've been up there, if you haven't, it's a wonderful park. Work will include renovations of the existing Little League Park, creation of a large open area for practice areas for soccer and flag football, and new walking paths. Pending U.S. Army Corps of Engineers approval, they actually own the property, and with city leases it, the project will include a bridge connecting the property to Kirby Community Park, along with a BMX course. Again, pending the funding, the project will also include new restrooms and fencing. The project is anticipated to begin this fall, and the current project budget is about $1.5 million. So again, we're hopeful to have great progress on that 29th Street. It's been in the works and the talks for such a long time. Another area that we're focused in on, and it's the Concho River Bank stabilization. If you tune into city council meetings, you'll hear the mayor often talk about we need to stabilize and save those banks. So there's efforts. We've applied for grants as well to really solidify and make sure that we don't lose more of the river bank due to erosion. One of the projects one of the grants that we applied for, we didn't receive, but we're looking at others to ensure that we do everything we can to protect the Concho River. We have funds that we'll be taking a look at as well as a possible funding source as well. The update information on the River Stage Improvement Project. In September, the City Council authorized the hiring of a firm, Andropec, Hibbs, and Todd, to begin the design of the first phase of the improvements to the river stage, which will include accessibility improvements at the restrooms. And notice I just say accessibility for ADA, walkways and ramps to the stage area, additional storage and dressing room space, an expanded green room, a production office, a new loading dock and canopy, expanded box office and concession, an entry canopy at the box office, and the list goes on and on and on. The goal is to have the design work ready so construction can occur during the off-season for the river stage. We anticipate completion on the first phase of 2024. Excuse me. And very briefly, just an update on the construction at the Fort Concho. Barracks and mess halls at 3 and 4 are in the home stretch, and the architect reports substantial completion by October. Move-in of some of the items may occur thereafter, with the majority of the move-in occupancy process taking place in early 2024. The fort is also creating 2 new major exhibits on the Buffalo Soldiers and Native Americans in the Barracks 1 Visitor Center. These will be available for guests on or before Christmas at Fort Concho on the weekend of December. The fort has also enjoyed lots of exterior refurbishments with new columns, new fascia, new roofs, and new window frames. It's looking really nice out there, and hopefully you'll have a chance to go out there and tour. The NAACP Buffalo Soldier display had successful opening and celebration on July of 28th, attended by about 150 guests. The next phase of the project that is mostly funded is to finish the parcel parallel with Oak Street with additional trees, plantings, walkways, connections to the first finished parcel with the monuments and benches. We have multiple other projects that will be in the works. For the sake of time, I will not cover those right now. One thing that I do want to move forward with and talk about now is the City Council has had a sincere focus on addressing public safety for our community. We've done that with increasing the number of staff members that we've had for the fire department, also the police department. And I wanted to talk a little bit about both of those at this point. The fire department has seen probably the most calls that it's had in its history, with 16,928 calls. A lot of those calls are for EMS service, but slightly over 12,000, and then about 294 structure fires per year. But we do get about over 4,000 false fire alarms, motor vehicle accidents, and other non-emergency calls. But regardless, our guys are staying really busy. I can tell you that the City Council is committed to replacing old equipment that they've had. This past year, they're expecting to receive 3 fire trucks, one that was actually ordered a couple of years ago, but regardless, it's finally made it here. So we have about 3 fire trucks that are making their way to us. The thing that I failed to mention a while ago, the firefighters are 178 classified positions at this point. That's a good number. That keeps us pretty safe in the fire protection area. The City Council has approved increases over the last couple of years that, not just for the firefighters, but for police officers and staff as well, that equal about 11% increase for those positions, which is important because we do compare to other communities, and we always want to make sure that we're doing what's fair. And I think that at this point, from what I've seen the last couple of years, the City Council has gone out there and really done what they could do with the resources that we had available to make those adjustments and those increases. So we did, again, see that 11% increase. So thank you, City Council members, for doing that. The police department, they do have 180 authorized sworn officers. Currently, they're at around 164 police officers with 6 in the Police Cadets Academy. There's been a lot of discussion, and I'm sure you've read it, and that deals with the ensuring that we keep our police officers here in San Angelo. I can assure you right now that we are making every effort on our end to ensure that public safety, that the citizens not only have the fire protection, but also have the police protection. We're currently negotiating, city staff is currently negotiating and in discussions with the coalition of police officers to look at possible solutions. On our end, we'll do what's right and we'll do what's fair for all our employees, to include, of course, the police officers. But it is an item that is being addressed, and on our end, I wanted to make sure that everybody here was aware of that. I do want to talk about crime statistics for the police department. We received this from Chief Carter. The number of violent crimes and property crimes have decreased actually overall since 2017. And I want to kind of run by these numbers very briefly. Back in 2017, we saw an 8% decrease in the number of violent crimes. In 2018, a negative 18, or a drop of 18%. In 2019, a drop of 6%. In 2020, a drop of 9%. 2021, a drop of 15%. In 2022, the numbers spiked just a little bit, 4%. But again, since the numbers were going down quite dramatically, that wasn't that big of a spike. In 2023, we did see a decrease at about 2%, and that's through August. And I'm sure that the year ended in a negative as well. So again, on our part, we do everything we can. We have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that as we budget, that we're addressing the needs of the community. I think that the city has done a really good job. City Council, city staff has done a really good job in that area, and we'll continue working toward that. We know that the challenges are there. I mentioned a while ago, the state legislators did put a limit about 3.5% as far as our property tax revenues year over year. That's a huge challenge for us because we do see an increase for inflationary purposes on a yearly basis that definitely goes above the 3.5%. So those are some of the challenges that we'll have to address this coming year. But I'm sure Mayor Gunter will be here to talk about it next year. But there's some real challenges, but we're up for the task. We always have been up for the task, and we will tackle those. So we're very thankful for the invitation by the Chamber of Commerce to be here to do this presentation. And we look forward to working very closely with all of you. And keep in mind, again, I started off with the ADA. Please go to our website and let's get your thoughts and views on what you feel we should be doing. And we want to make sure that we serve the whole community and the ADA, everyone that is in need of a service from the city. So again, we thank all of you. If there's anything that I can do for you, if there's any questions that you may have for me, please don't hesitate to call City Hall and ask for Daniel Valenzuela. I'll be more than happy to sit down and talk with you or talk to you by phone. Any questions that you have that come up at times, that you've read, that you want answers to, don't hesitate to call up there as well. We'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. But again, thank you. You have a wonderful afternoon and God bless you.